we have a really good one today because this is something that um, so many people can identify with. So many people um, from both sides, from the in-law side and from the parents-in-law side, from the daughter or son-in-law side. There's so many issues with in-laws. So many, so many, so many. However, we'll cast a vision for you. In-laws are one of the greatest gifts that God ever designed for us. I mean, think about it. You get to you get to you get a new family. Now, what if you never had a brother? Like, I grew up with two older sisters. I love my older sisters, but they were way older than me and would, pretty much beat me up and stuff, sort of, kind of. Well, I was way too little. I always wanted an older brother. I always wanted an older brother. I wanted a brother. I wanted a brother. Never got a brother until I did. I got my brother that I always wanted. I got a brother-in-law. His name was Mark, and he was a Navy SEAL. And without in-laws, I'd never had a brother. Both my parents are gone now. They died in '08. They were way older when I was born. And I feel so blessed to have my parents-in-law. They are so, so awesome. And the extended family, the cousins, all of that stuff that you get from in-laws, that's the way that God designed it. And if you look at the stories back in his story, they were very, very careful about, when they would, like, who you're going to marry and what family you're marrying into. And now today we sort of choose our own. But when you choose to marry somebody, you are choosing to marry into a family as well. And that it could be awesome, but it can be awful too if the basic laws of how this is supposed to work are not followed. And the big one, the first one, and if you want to get ready, before I even ask the question, if you want to get ready to think about how to have great in-law relationships, it starts at the wedding. Starts at the wedding. I remember when Tori and I got married, our pastor, the pastor that married us, his name's Bill Chimison, great pastor. He and his wife, Julie, from South Louisiana, the ones that discipled me in college. He stood up there in front at the wedding and he turned to both sets of parents. And he said, "You guys, it's a great day for you. Something you prayed for years, blah, blah, blah." I said all these nice things. "You've done a great job." And then he turned to him and he said, "And today, your job changes. Your job is going to be very different from now on. Because the way God designed it, when somebody gets married, they leave and they cleave." What that means is that primary allegiance shifts from the family of origin to the spouse and the new family that's being created, right? And then you turn and you have a different kind of relationship, but it's not a governing relationship and it's separate and there's no authority there, but there's love and there's wisdom and there's ongoing goodness. Now, most in-law problems, happen when that separation is not firm and intact and, may I say, honored. And he turned to him and said, "Guys," something like this, basically, "you're fired. Your job is done." A lot of implications of that. So don't meddle. Help. Don't try to take control. Respect the boundaries. They're going to be their kids, your grandkids. They're not your kids, they're your grandkids. So those are the parents, future parents over there. A lot of stuff goes with this. And also, they're going to be responsible for themselves. You're no longer responsible for them. So you get a day off, sort of like the double empty nest. See, if those boundaries are respected, then you're off to a good start. All right. And so all of you who are single, make sure you talk about this stuff and look at this stuff before you sign up, because you're signing up for it. And that's got to all be talked about. So here's the question. My husband and I made it very easy for my in-laws to be involved in our lives since day one of our relationship. We had our first child and then decided to move a couple of states away to start a new life. But one main goal of mine, this is the wife, as the wife and new mother, was to get away from the in-laws who we would see sometimes 4 times a week or even more. 4 times a week or even more. Is that good or bad? We'll see. The in-laws followed us out to Arizona, and finally, after 2 years, I put my foot down and said, enough is enough. I want my space, which is really difficult for me. It's hard for her to do that. She sounds very loving and caring and all that. And it was very much resisted by her husband. Feelings have been hurt, and I still have feelings of guilt as we're about to welcome our second child into the world this month. Congratulations. What is a healthy amount of time to see your in-laws? Actually, I should enunciate that different. What is a healthy amount of time to see your in-laws? And when should we see them again after the baby arrives? I'm afraid we will once again be infiltrated. Infiltrated. That's a funny word. Once the gate opens, oh my gosh, here they come. And that's not what I want, but I'm working on improving my no muscle when it comes to them. What a fantastic question. Now, I'm going to get at the heart of the issue first. You're asking a quantitative question, which is a little bit like the way, and I seriously, I totally get why you're asking this, and this is your experience and how it feels, because this is the reality you're living in. But I'm going to shift the question to a different way of asking it. But here's the way you're asking it, how much is healthy? Okay. The way you're asking it is a little bit like, okay, doctor, how many cigarettes can I smoke a day and it still be okay? How much red meat can I eat? How many glasses of wine? How much refined sugar can I have and still be? So here's the problem. It's not a quantitative question. Now, certainly there's quantitative aspects to it. It is a qualitative question, meaning it all depends on the quality of what happens. I know some families, the in-laws are so destructive, they have had to block their numbers. So there is not a good amount. I know other families, the relationship is so beautiful and non-intrusive and supportive and helpful. They have in-laws come live in their guest room. They live with them. That's a lot of smoke. That's a lot of burgers. But doesn't seem to bother anybody. They're enjoying it. Nobody's getting sick. So what we're really talking about here is there is a certain amount that's right for the certain quality, and you've got to always match those two. So the question is, how much is good, not how much is healthy in general, there's no absolute. How much is good for you and your family, and you and your husband, and you and your in-laws? And I do, by the way, believe that we do, and I don't even want to use this word because it gets it off in the sort of like in a funny emotional feeling, but I do think we owe our parents and grandparents relationship and contact. But that's kind of a stupid word in a way. We should owe it. Well, yeah, but it shouldn't feel like an owing. I mean, they birthed us, they raised us, they took care of us. Hopefully, as one of my favorite verses says, we make a return to them and take care of them as they need us, like we needed them. So it's a qualitative thing. So what I would want you and your husband to look at, and by the way, I'm not criticizing you for asking that question because you asked, because I did say, depending on the nature of the relationship, there's a quantitative, there is a certain amount you can tolerate. And besides that, you go crazy, right? Bat crazy. I get it. I've got never mind. I might out somebody if I talk about them and their mother-in-law. I've got a friend that goes through some of this. But here's the question. You and your husband. Your husband might have some leaving to finish. Now, if he's resisting his wife's plea for saying, can you understand, too much is too much for me. I don't feel like we have our own life apart from them. Your husband, and you can have him watch that, he's got to hear that. Go play this for him. And, sir, with all due respect, I know you love and honor your parents, but I'm going to tell you, and this is the way that I've done it as well, that all of us have to do this. The basic verse says, a husband shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. It's true on both sides. But here's the thing. She's the cleave now. She's your number one. Okay? And if for whatever reason it's too much for her, your heart has got to support her first. And you've got to be the boundary that turns to them and say, Mom and Dad, I love you. And don't make her bad. Don't say, but she can't, no. Don't throw her under the bus. Say, we need, because it is a we. There's certain time and space that we need for us and we need for our family, and that we want to have with you guys too. So we're trying to kind of find that balance. And so what we need for you guys to do is really hear how much we love you and want you involved in our lives and this, that, and the other. But we also need for you to respect, we're trying to build our own family here and know what that feels like just as our own. Just like when I grew up with you guys, we had our own time and family away from grandma and grandpa. Remember that? Well, it's the same here. And so I need for you guys to respect that. And please don't take it personally. Please don't take it personally. Number one. Number two, if there are dynamics that are making it difficult, then those are important to be addressed too. We want to spend time with y'all, but when we're together and most of the conversation is you're telling us what we ought to be doing differently with the kids, or you're telling Susie how she ought to be mothering differently, this, that, and the other, that they're our kids and we've got to make those decisions. Now, if you want to have, I'm open to your input. We're open to your input, but let's set a time. Let's have a parenting lunch and let's put some boundaries around parenting lunch. And you can give us all of your advice and the things that you notice and see, and we'll take those under advisement. And we'll take those, to other people we talk to in our support group and all that, and we'll make a decision. We appreciate your counsel. And put some boundaries around that. Or if there's criticism or whatever. So also address the issues that are making it difficult and plead for them to not take this personally. Now, here's a warning. Some people get narcissistically injured. Some people take that as abandonment or whatever. And there's not a lot you can do about it except empathize with it and hope that they'll come around. But you can't sacrifice your marriage. You can't sacrifice your family. And you can't sacrifice your grandkids to dominion of the grandparents and the in-laws. So that's all of this. So back to your basic question, how much is too much? You and your husband, and I also want for you, and I'm going to call you Susie here, for you to understand where he's coming from too, and figure out, okay, how can I accommodate that he's got a little more want to be with his family than I do? How can I do that? And you guys decide how much and when. Why don't you say, why don't we have a dinner every week? Or why don't we have a play date here and there with grandma or whatever and the kids, whatever. Find out what the right amount is and set that structure. Then you're not going through the conflict on each call.